Hey guys! Today I'm going to be doing a video all about my feet tattoos. I've been doing kind of like individualized videos about my individual tattoos instead of just doing like updated my tattoos videos all the time. It's kind of hard to do to get really in-depth about my tattoos when I'm talking about all of them at once, so I'm kind of just breaking it down to answer questions because a lot of people don't realize this, but most tattooed people I know at least, don't like to talk about their tattoos. I'm much more comfortable talking about them on my own terms. I really don't like being confronted by strangers and being asked questions about my body. So I kind of really actually love doing videos on it like this, so I feel like I can answer people's questions and I kind of don't have to answer it in person. Because when I'm sitting down, I'm on my own terms and I'm ready to talk about it, but when people just come up to you and ask you about your body, it's like super kind of like you're caught off guard and it's like kind of uncomfortable and it's like sometimes you just don't feel like explaining things. So anyway, that's just to give you a little idea of why I'm doing these videos, but also just because like I know you guys are interested and I want you to hear my stories. So one of the probably most asked questions I get are, what were your first tattoos? And if you've been following me for a while, you know that my first tattoos were on my feet. Living at home with a very, very conservative Jewish father and a mom who always has my best interest in mind, I was not allowed to have any tattoos, any visible tattoos, while living with my parents. Obviously, that, didn't go as planned, but I kind of wanted to ease my parents into the idea of me having tattoos, so I got my feet done first, just because they basically could never see it. Like, they knew I was doing it, my mom came with me, but my mom was more okay with the idea of me getting tattoos that could be covered. My dad didn't want me to have any at all, but I think the feet is like a good spot to like kind of ease into it, just because they almost will never see it. Like, I don't wear sandals, so people actually don't even know I have my feet tattooed half the time, but I digress. So the day after my 18th birthday, because my 18th birthday was on a holiday and the tattoo shop wasn't open, I went and got my feet tattooed. Now, I actually surprisingly did what I thought was a lot of research before getting my feet tattooed. I drove like 2 hours because it was my first tattoo, so I drove like 2 hours just to meet with the artist and like tell her what I wanted and like meet her and make sure we like got along in a vibe, because I was like, that was like really important to me. It's my first tattoo, you know what I mean? So, I saw her portfolio. I didn't see any of her healed work, but just like her portfolio. And my main thing was like I was getting lettering, so I wanted an artist that has done this specific lettering, and she had. Again, I'm not going to go into detail about who it was, just because you'll find out in a minute. I got the tattoo done and I really don't remember it being very painful. Like, now I know that I'm older, like my pain tolerance has gone down tremendously, but I remember when I first got it, I was like, this is a tattoo, like this is what people think is painful, like this is not bad at all. And then like the more like she kept doing it, I was like, oh, this hurts a little, it's a little spicy. But I was just like, alright, it's not that bad, it's like whatever. But I know now getting my feet tattooed would definitely hurt a lot more. So I really guess it really just depends on your pain tolerance. Most people say feet is like the most painful part. I'm gonna get my feet added to, so I will update you guys on how much it hurts as, a person in their mid-20s as opposed to an 18-year-old. Because personally, my pain tolerance has gone down tremendously. But anyway, so it's 2 roses, it's like 2 bows, but the middle of the bows are roses, and it has some lettering. And so when I was 16, I went to like a street fair, like a little craft fair, I forget where, but I found a necklace and I bought it, and I still have it in my keepsake box. And it was like a little rectangle, and on one side it said "Don't look back," and on the other side it said "Live life well." And this really kind of resonated with me. I was going through a really hard time. Pretty much all of my teen years were a really hard time. So I kind of held this necklace like near and dear to my heart, and I just really like the saying, like, to live your life well. Like, live life well, make it the best you can, and don't look back at your past, which is really hard to do, but I still just really like the saying. I decided that I wanted to get that tattooed on me, and a few years later I decided that's what I was going to do. So I got the 2 bows with the roses, and on one foot it said "Don't look back," and the other said "Live life well." And as you can see from the photo, there's anchors there. Those weren't there originally. And I went to get my feet tattooed. I kind of wanted like the bow to be really big, like kind of going down, like wrapping around the sides of my feet with the letters in between, kind of taking up my whole foot. But the way she drew it and put it on me was, you know, a lot like smaller and kind of like up on my ankle. And then the words, and I was only 18, it was my first tattoo. I didn't know how to like speak up and tell her that I wanted something like kind of totally different than what she had drawn, because originally she just drew like the bow and it didn't even have like the little tails coming down, and I was like, can you add that, you know what I mean? So after making one request, I like didn't want to make any other requests, so I was just like, okay, yeah, that's fine, like that's good, whatever you think. But you know, looking back, I definitely should have spoke up. I think it's really, really hard to speak up to an artist sometimes because you don't want to insult them or whatever, but it's really important to do it, especially with like your first tattoos. Like you gotta use your voice, you gotta speak up. I don't hate my tattoos now, I'm not upset about it, but like it wasn't what I asked for and it wasn't really what I wanted. So there was a lot of empty space at the bottom of my foot, and we'll get to that in a sec. So she did the tattoos on me. I thought they looked great. They looked pretty good. They were a little muddy because she kind of shaded the whole thing in gray and then put like pops of pink, which is what I asked for. And that's what she did. So I healed the tattoo like exactly the way she told me to. Everything went well except a bunch of the lines fell out on one of the feet, like on the letters. And I was like, well, I didn't realize that like that meant she didn't do the tattoo properly, because I had taken care of it flawlessly, but I didn't know at the time that's what it meant. So I went back and I was like, can you touch it up? And she was like, yeah, and she charged me to touch it up within you know, a month of getting it done, which is like kind of not cool. Like if you made a mistake, like you should be touching it up for free in that short period of time. And also I brought in just like a Google image of an anchor to fill in the space that she had left. So I was like, can you know, fill this in? Like, can you fill in this space? And she was like, sure. So she did it and I was like, okay, great, cool. Like I liked it. It looked great. I went back to get another piece from her, which is the one on top of my arm. And I thought that looked great. Long story short, after a couple of months of having them, the lines were just like totally like, they basically looked like dotted lines. So she really didn't do a good job. I didn't realize until like hindsight, looking back on it now that I'm like way more experienced. I think she was really just an apprentice or just learning, because her husband was a tattoo artist and he was kind of like looking over her shoulder the entire time, like seeing what she was doing and like asking her questions and like encouraging her and stuff like that. And I just thought he was being like a cute husband, but looking back, she didn't have any visible tattoos either, so I think she was really just starting. Not to say that like you can't have, like if you don't have visible tattoos it means like you're not an experienced artist, but typically like they'll have something, you know what I mean? I think she was just kind of trying it out, and I was a guinea pig and didn't realize. And they didn't look bad. The tattoos she didn't look bad, but they definitely did not come out the way, they didn't come out good. They didn't come out the way they should have. So anyway, I had to get both of my feet entirely redone, like re-outlined everything, and then he was like, well, if you want this to look good, I'm gonna have to pack the bows with color, like I'm gonna have to make them really pink. And I was like, all right, just do what you gotta do. So I did one foot and it hurt more the second time, and then I had to go back again and get the second foot. And it was more obvious when I first got them touched up than it is now. Now they're pretty much the same, but since I went 2 different times, he like custom mixed like a pink color for me, and the first foot he did was darker than the second foot, and then he realized, and like the whole thing was done, and then like he went back in with the darker pink over the light pink he just put on and just like drilled it in over everything that was all raw already, and it just, oh my god. So I was just like, I can't deal with this. So for a while they were a little bit of like 2 different colors, but now they're pretty much the same after years. So yeah, getting my feet tattooed wasn't the best experience. I had to get them done twice, and I don't know. I think the moral of the story is that's just my my experience with my feet tattoos. Just, I don't know, story time. They definitely can be painful. It's more painful like the further down toward your toes that you go, in my personal opinion. I plan on kind of like filling in the rest of my feet up by my toes. I don't know when, but I do plan on doing that just because there's still like the empty space and I kind of want to, I don't know, do something. I do definitely actually recommend the feet for a first tattoo, because although like people experienced with tattoos say it hurts a lot, I think for your first tattoo, like it's a really good spot, because the first few tattoos you get usually don't hurt as much. They hurt more like later down the line. And also it's a place that really can easily be covered. And that's just kind of always a good decision for a first tattoo, whether you've been thinking about it for 10 years or 10 minutes. Like, you really never know where you're going to be down the line with your thought process and the ideas that you like. So again, on the pain scale, I really can't say because this all happened when I was 18 and I'm like almost 25 now. So honestly, at the time it was probably only like a 4 or 5, but I think now it would probably be more like an 8. And yeah, that's it. I think that's all about my feet tattoos. I hope this helped or at least entertained you, and thank you for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Stay sassy.